absolutely brutal news for YouTube, Google, TikTok, Facebook, and Snapchat, as a federal judge has now said, no more Section 230 protection for you. This has been something that I've talked about for a very long time. Section 230 is something that is an absolute must. If you don't know what it is essentially, it's when you act as a platform. So if you're YouTube and you allow people to upload whatever they want, right? And they upload something bad, that you can't get sued for that because you are just a platform and not a publisher. A publisher would be like CNN.com or Breitbart or thequartering.com or whatever, right? Where somebody is, making editorial decisions and putting something out. A publisher is allowed to be sued for all sorts of different things. A platform is protected by Section 230. Now, over the past 10 years, we've seen YouTube, Google, every mainstream media, every big tech, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, have all essentially worked extremely hard at disparaging the right and pushing left-wing media, left-leaning biases on their viewers. So yes, they are a platform, but they are editorializing. The way they secretly editorialize is by shadow banning content that they don't want you to see and promoting content that they do want you to see. They've done this without any kind of issues for a very long time, but now we're seeing the first cracks in their Section 230 protection. A federal judge has now ruled that major tech companies must face lawsuits brought by school districts claiming that the social media apps have contributed to a mental health crisis among students. The lawsuits target Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, Google, China's TikTok, and Snapchat. I assume also YouTube by extension. Now I can see where this is obviously going. This is the same thing that they did to like cigarette people. They're going to do it. There's going to be huge lawsuits against vape one day. There's going to be huge lawsuits against Zyn one day. Because, the quiet part is that these companies often do market to young people. They go right up against the line to try and make it look cool to young people. Companies don't make a lot of money getting you hooked on Zyns at 75, but if they can get you hooked on at 16, you're a customer for 50 years until your jaw falls off or whatever the case is, right? Bloomberg reports that U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers in Oakland, California, has now allowed lawsuits against Meta, YouTube, TikTok, and Snap to proceed in federal court. The decision comes after a contrasting ruling by Los Angeles Superior Court in June, which favored the tech giants. The lawsuits filed by school districts accuse the companies of designing addictive apps that have contributed to a mental health crisis among students. The districts argue that the platforms were engineered to addict kids by using algorithms and features such as the like button, causing harm to society in a manner similar to cigarette manufacturers who designed their products to be addictive. So they're literally suing over the like button. It's the dopamine hit. It's the algorithm love. When you're favored by the algorithm, something that my channels never are. When you're favored by the algorithm, just the intense rush that you get from a bunch of new comments from people. Even I still get it. Like when I get a video that breaks out of the algorithm, like normally YouTube says I'm not allowed to have more than 100 to 150,000 views. Rumble is different. I do a little bit better. It's a little more common there for me to break out in the algorithm there. But if I get a video on YouTube that suddenly gets 300,000, 400, 500,000, I get a huge rush from that still. And I've been doing this for 10 years. Maybe I should get on some of that money. Judge Rogers denied the company's request to dismiss negligence claims, although she narrowed the scope of the allegations that will move forward. She concluded that some claims are barred by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and a federal law that shields internet companies from lawsuits. The ruling follows another decision made by Judge Rogers over a week ago, in which she ruled that Facebook/Meta must also face a lawsuit brought by dozens of state attorneys, attorney generals, alleging that the company knowingly hooked kids on Facebook and Instagram platforms. Look, I don't really understand where this money goes. Here's how it's going to end. There's going to be some big cash judgment against Google, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, right? That the federal government is going to get hundreds of millions of dollars from them. And then they're just going to send it to Ukraine and Israel anyway. I never really understood these big federal lawsuits because they don't actually help Americans. They just enrich the government or lawyers who work up these class action lawsuits or whatever. But this is a relevant case because it is the first kind of crack in the Section 230 protection that these sites have that they have enjoyed for the past 20 years that they have no longer qualified for, in my opinion. Because YouTube, because Facebook, Meta, TikTok, X until very recently, because they all tip their fingers on the editorial scale by shadow banning content or promoting other types of content, I don't think that they should get Section 230 protection anymore. And so I 100% support this. A recent decree will now lead to more court time for big tech firms in the U.S. District Court of Oakland. According to Bloomberg, there's now more than 150 cases filed by school districts, all which concern the effect of social media algorithms may have on the youth mental health crisis. Now, by the way, why do you think there's so many trans people now? Why do you think that there is a 500 million% increase in people who identify as LGBTQ right now? Do you think it's just because it's socially acceptable now? Or do you think that they're being groomed into it by algorithms, by TikTok, who want to destroy the West? I don't know. I can't prove that. But I'm just saying, to me, the destruction, the division in this country is algorithmically driven. Hate content, we know, the content that makes people angry spreads far faster and wider than content that makes people feel happy. They tweak algorithms to keep people outraged. They tweak algorithms to divide this country. They tweak algorithms to push whatever political party they're favoring. I mean, how come, no conservative commentator or even right-leaning commentator is ever featured on the YouTube homepage or ever does extremely well on Facebook or ever goes quote unquote viral, unless they're Ben Shapiro, who has dinner with Mark Zuckerberg? The standard defense against these claims is Section 230. However, that's a title of legal doctrine that provides safe harbor to these companies, and seemingly shielding them from the prosecution is 600 cases related to these addictive algorithms. But also in the legal world, there are also questions about how and when Section 230 can be applied, especially due to algorithmic recommendations. A pivotal decision back in August of 2024 determined that TikTok will have to face a lawsuit brought by the mother of a child who died attempting the dangerous blackout challenge. The ruling built on Supreme Court decisions that define the recommendation algorithms as editorial judgments. This is a good thing. Okay, now do I want YouTube to go away? No. My entire business still relies largely on it. Do I want Facebook or X or... No, I don't. I just want them to either play by the rules allowed by them, afforded to them in Section 230, which again, is like, hey, you can't have editorial. Also, yeah, I think TikTok forcing dangerous trends on youths, I think that that's bad. I think that that's bad. You know what I mean? I think that's bad. I don't think TikTok should do that. I think TikTok has a responsibility, as long as they want to maintain protections under Section 230, to keep content that is actually dangerous. Maybe, I'm not against it existing, for example, but promoting it algorithmically is probably not good. The outcome of these cases are far from certain, but the courts continue to strip away Section 230's authority in the realm of algorithms. The ramifications for social media industry will be massive. Who knows? Maybe this time next year, we will be getting a depersonalized algorithm to match the ones that they already have in Europe. Yeah, I'd say that's probably very likely. That's very likely. And, again, if you want to have personalized algorithms, you want to push the liberal media agenda, you want to push woke ideology on people, That's your right as a private company, but you don't get Section 230 protection. Right? I think that that's fair. I think that if you want to allow certain types of speech to exist, that you should be able to do that. But if you are using the algorithm to push one side of the politics, by the way, if YouTube was suddenly pushing conservative politics over liberal ones, that wouldn't be okay either. You know what I mean? Now, of course, Google.org, ahead of this lawsuit back in August, announced $10 million to Teen Mental Health Initiative. What difference does that mean? What difference does that make when you're making $100 billion, right, targeting teens? This is a major problem in the United States. It's a major problem that I think absolutely needs to be looked at. And again, I am in favor of Section 230 being enforced correctly. You don't have to remove it because social media platforms can't exist without it. But for far too long, companies like YouTube, Twitter, before it was X, Facebook, all this stuff have specifically pushed one type of ideology, one type of politics, which is, in my opinion, bars them from calling themselves platforms. They are publishers at that point. They're no different than the Washington Post or CNN or Fox News, and they should be open to the very same lawsuits if that's the game they want to play. It's about choices. And an uneven playing field without these algorithms artificially deboosting ideas and forcing others, all we get is a level playing field, and the best ideas win. I'm absolutely for that. So this is what they get, and I hope we see more of it. We'll have to see. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.